Is that Charlie and Susan just got married and they're looking to purchase their first home. They settle on a white ranch on about an acre lot that is a bit outdated. They're eager to renovate this and add their own touch. The home is currently listed at $349,900. Show you a picture of it here. Here it is. It's coming soon to the market. So you can, yeah, it is. It's really pretty house. Yeah, it's really pretty. The inside is outdated. I'll show you. See, it's got kind of the grandma vibe going on there. It does, though, have some nice rooms. It's got a nice fireplace. It has some hardwood floors. Has some stainless steel.
Why do you have carpet?
So, I mean, it's not a bad. It's a pretty nice house. Does need a little bit of updating.
On carpet walls.
And it is on about an acre, so it's a pretty nice house there. They're going to try to purchase this house. They meet with a lender, and they do have enough savings that they can put a down payment of $49,900. Right? And they're going to finance the rest, which means get a loan for the rest of it. Okay. So the lender informs them that they do qualify for a 30-year fixed mortgage. What does this fixed mean?
The rate doesn't change.
Yeah, the rate is fixed; it will not change.
As opposed to adjustable.
Yeah, adjustable or a variable rate. That means it could generally would just go up. So a fixed rate is something that you would want to make sure you have so it doesn't go up. So a fixed rate for that remaining $300,000 at a 5% interest rate, and they estimate the monthly payment to be about $1,610. And I'll show you how I came up with that. What you can actually do on here is you can adjust whatever you want your down payment to be. And this is a pretty good estimate. So $49,900. Generally 20% is standard, but in this one, we're going to go a little less than 20%. And we're going to do a 30-year fixed mortgage. And we'll do 5% just for ease here. And so you can do this on your own. You can come up with the monthly payment here. Now, I did not put the monthly payment here. It says it's $2,179. The reason why it's not that is here's the payment I put on your warm-up question, which is $1,610. And because when you make a mortgage payment, you pay towards like the loan, which this green part is the loan part, $1,610. You also have to pay for some other things. You have to pay for property taxes, a big one. And oftentimes people will have that just included in their mortgage, so you just every month pay your property tax, and then it's collected twice a year, every 6 months. But it's easier to just include that in your mortgage, but it's not actually part of your loan. You also have to have some home insurance as well. And this one also has mortgage insurance because they're not paying 20%. So if you don't pay 20%, you generally have to get what's called PMI or private mortgage insurance as well. So the actual part that they're paying towards the loan, which we're going to look at, is this $1,610. But their monthly payment is going to be $500 more. So this is common. The bank might even tell you this is what's estimated, but you got to figure in your taxes, insurance, all that stuff as well. And they're actually going to need about $64,000. Closing is when you actually sign to agree to the loan. There's always what are called closing costs, and those are not cheap. So they're actually going to need about $63,000. But anyhow, considering all that stuff, let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. So they're going to actually borrow $300,000, 5% interest, and their monthly payment there $1,610. And so let's go ahead and write a recursive sequence. See if you can do that. I wrote the little formula up here for you. Go ahead and try to type that into your calculator. 1 plus r over n, root of n minus 1, and then either plus or minus whatever the p is. See if you guys can get that going there.
Put in a very, very
Yeah. You have to clear the seat. Clear that. All right, so what you should be typing in, pull mine up here. So you should have, this is a little bit blurrier for some reason. All right, in your U of N, you're going to have your parenthesis 1 plus, parenthesis 0.05 divided by 12, close parenthesis. You then have to do U, so you're going to do second and 7, parenthesis, and then to get N, you do this xt theta N minus 1, close parenthesis. And we're going to do plus or minus the payment. Yeah, minus because it's going to subtract from the loan every time we do it, right? So minus our monthly payment of $16.10. We should have our N min up there, should be 0. The U of N min should be our starting balance, which is the entire mortgage there of $300,000. All that. We then flip to our table. I should have checked my values to make sure they weren't too big. But if you have some big numbers in there, it'll take a minute to compute. Hopefully not forever. Let's look here. Our first question is, when will the balance be below 150,000? So we're going to plug in some numbers to figure that out. I might have too big a numbers in here. If it becomes an issue where it's taking forever to, oh, there we go. All right. If it's taking too long, I can show you how to get there. But anyhow, we want to know when we're under 100,000. You can do things like, well, look at the first payment. Make sure you can type in a number and hit enter. If you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to do this. So make sure you're trying that. And if it's not allowing you, you need to go to the table settings. So you hit the second table set. You need to be on ask for the independent and auto for the dependent. All right, so let's go back and look at that. You can see after the first payment, you're paying $1,600, but it only goes down like $360. We kind of looked at that yesterday when we looked at the amortization tables, how you pay a ton towards interest in the beginning. And let's see when we actually get below 100,000. It looks like it's not going to be at least until around like the, let's try like 285th payment. Getting closer. 292 here. And it's a little too much. Try the 290th. Too much. 288. All right, I think it's 289 that gets us below. Is that right? What was it, 150? Oh, yeah, sorry. Is it? Yeah, I guess it's 150. Sorry. Okay, yeah, I was doing 100. So let's see. Let's see the question. All right, so Sandra says 243. That looks good. Let's just verify. Let's do 242. Make sure it's not that. All right, yeah, so 242 puts us at 150,071, and then 243 takes us below 150. So it's going to take us 243 payments and years. Let's think 243 divided by 12. Well, that's going to be like 20 years and some change. So about 20 years, we get down to half the balance of the mortgage. So a little bit depressing. But if we did this correctly, at 360, that's 30 years. It should be paid off, right? So I'm typing 360. Sometimes there's just a little bit left. This one, there's a little bit left there. And then the 361 goes into the negative. So you're going to have one more payment that's just really small there to pay the remaining balances with the loan. Really a difference of probably some cents. All right, so that's kind of the gist of what we're gonna do some more of this today. then you'll have a little time to work on it. And then I want to show you a couple other things that you can do on Realtor.com, which is kind of neat. You can see how the payment breaks down. You can also check out the property history. So see like when it was sold. It looks like it was originally built, I think, in 1989. It was then sold in 1992, sold again in 1993, sold again in 1994, or 1999. The value didn't change much through that, really. But then it was listed in 2019. Then they lowered the price a little bit. Nobody bought it, so they took it off the market. But now they've listed it again for $349, and it's probably going to sell really quick, would be my guess. So these people originally bought it for $178, and now they're going to sell it for $350. So they're going to make a good chunk of change there, because they probably have paid off, at least $78,000. So if they only have $100,000 left, even they're going to make about $250,000 off of it. That's pretty good. Even though it seems like you pay a ton for a house, you can make a lot of money as well. So you can also check out things like what are the schools like around that area, the value of the nearby homes. So you can see a lot of other homes in the area are even more expensive. So it seems like it will probably sell fast. And then there's also analytics that estimate the value of the home, and the analytics actually have this home undervalued for the sale price there, because the analytics here have it all above what the list value is. So maybe they're trying to sell it quickly, but they have it listed for lower. But, pretty interesting stuff you can find on there. You can also change the payments if you want to. So like, let's say instead you've got more money you want to put down, you're going to put down exactly 20%, which is pretty common. A lot of banks want you to have 20% in order to give you the loan. So if we put 20% down, that's going to be about $70,000. And you could even, let's say you're going to do a 15-year fixed instead. You get a better rate. And then so, our payments are a little bit higher, but we're going to pay it off 15 years sooner, and we're going to pay a lot less in interest. So you can mess around with that stuff. It's kind of fun. Okay, let's flip back to here. We're going to look at two problems here. The first one we're going to do is look at credit card debt. This graphic here is a little outdated, but this was actually from 2008, and it said that we had $972 billion in credit card debt, which like the richest people in the world have like 2 to 300 billion. So that's like several, 3 or 4 richest people, all of their money put together with our credit card debt. And I think Ohio is actually one of the higher ones. It's at 14%. This is the 20 worst cities for credit card debt, so we're in the top 20. Anyhow, John, he has a balance of $3,000 on his Discover credit card, and they actually only charge 1% per month, so that's really good. He's going to pay $100 a month toward the balance. The payment is made at the time the interest is charged, and your book actually made a little typo here. So they spelled interest wrong. But his balance each month after making the $100 payment is given by this sequence. So they're giving us our sequence here. We don't have to write it out. We're just going to take that and plug it in. We're going to find the balance after the first payment. Then we're going to figure out how many payments until it gets to $2,000, and then ultimately what is this interest expense. So we'll eventually get there. So let's go ahead and plug this in first. You're going to plug this in just like it is, except you're just going to be swapping the B for the U, right? Same here. So plugging it in just like that. We don't have to come up with our own formula. We just plug it in. Here. So we're going to have on our U of N, that's going to be 1.01. And then this is B sub N, so we're just going to do U, parenthesis N minus 1, close parenthesis. Our payment is minus 100, so that's why I got that minus 100 there. And then our U of N men, that's going to be our starting amount of 3,000. So let's go to the table. And depending on how big your numbers are, it might take a little more time. Our first one is to figure out the balance after one payment. So after one payment, we're at $2,930. So we've paid $100 after the first payment, and we reduced the balance by $70. So we paid like $30 in interest. Second one, you can see there. So we want to know, when do we get below 2,000? See if we can figure that out. Just start plugging in numbers. 20 is too much. 15 is too much. Well, it's not enough. It's like 14 payments. What you guys are getting? 13th payment, we're at 2,033. 14th, we're at below 2,000. 14 payments until we get below that. Next one, when will John pay off the balance? So see if you can figure out how many payments he needs to make till it's all around. It's not 360. That's a 30-year loan. This is not a 30-year loan. Figure it out. Everybody figured out? What do you get, Lloyd? 36? Yeah, 36 is when it turns negative. Very good. All right. So 36 months to pay this off. Now let's see if we can answer the rest of this here. So it'll take us 36 months. 36 months. Now this last question, you want to make sure you pay attention here, because if you don't, then you're going to be confused on how you do this on the problems you have to do. What was the interest expense? Right. So in other words, how much did John end up paying interest to pay this off? So here's how we're going to do it. We know that he had to make 36 payments to pay it off, right? So we're going to do 36 times, how much did he pay each payment? $100, right? So he paid $100 36 times. So this is the total amount that John paid with the loan. He paid $3,600. He made 36 payments of $100. Now the original loan, if you will, the amount on the credit card was $3,000, right? So all we do is that minus our $3,000, because that's our loan amount, and then we're left with $600. That is how much he's paid in interest. He paid $600 more than he actually borrowed, right? So that was the interest expense. That's actually not bad, considering over a 3-year period, $3,000 in interest. And it really isn't bad. Most credit cards would have a lot higher interest rate, like maybe even like 8 to 10%. So. The best thing to do with a credit card, though, is to just pay it off before you even accumulate any interest. It's really easy to do. What I've always done, it's good to have a credit card because it builds your credit. But if you have it with the same bank that you have like a checking account, is you can just like transfer the money over really easily. So just don't ever spend more money than you have in your checking account.
Just take that over the first
Get another one.
Go in the chain until you find the one with the less equal business. And once they get bankrupt, you just sit.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you eventually have to go to a loan shark, right?
Yeah, it comes to be golden.
Right.
Hey, give me your money you're losing
All right, last one we're gonna do here. So this house we're gonna look at, this one's in Johnstown. Anybody live in Johnstown? No. All right. So this house, Bill and I think it's Bill and Laura. Oh, I just exited. Oh well. So Bill and Laura are gonna purchase this house in Johnstown. The house is listed at 180,000, so they're gonna put 30,000 down for a down payment, and then they're gonna borrow 150,000. They're gonna borrow that at 6% interest compounded monthly for 30 years, and their monthly payment is determined to be $899.33, and that would be without like the property taxes and insurance and all that stuff. So we need to actually write a formula for this one. So let's do that. It's the same way we did our warm-up questions. So we're going to do A sub n, or if you just want to do U sub n, that's fine too. We're just going to do 1 plus our rate, which is 0.06, right? And this is monthly, so 12. And then it's our A sub n minus 1. And then minus the payment, which we're going to pay each month of $899.33. All right, so let's get that plugged in. If you're not figuring out how to plug this in, you got to make sure you ask for help. Because I can't see your calculator. Make sure you ask it. And then our U of N men will be the 150 that we're borrowing. All right, so we got that plugged in. Our first question is after the first payment, so that's pretty easy. It's going to plug in 1. Next one's going to be below 140, so plug in 1. There we go. Our total amount went down $150 after the first one. So one's going to be below 140. Let's see, like 50th. Not quite. 55. Not quite. 50. Looks like we're at 58 maybe. Yeah, 58th payment, it will go down. So a little less than 5 years. Drop about 10,000. When will they pay off the balance? It's a 30-year loan, so it should pay it off after 360 months, right? 30 times 12 would be 360. So let's double check that. Take a minute there. And yeah, you can see we're at negative $4 at the 360th payment, so that's when it'll be paid off. And all right, now we need to do the interest expense. So this is going to work much the same way as the last one we did. So to do the interest, we're going to do, we made 360 payments. Each payment is $899.33. The last one might be just a little bit less than that, but let's be a good estimate here. So that many payments, so we're going to multiply that by 360 because that's the number of payments that we make. So 360, 899. So the total amount that we paid for this house then, $323,758.08. Now to find the interest expense, so we're going to subtract the original loan amount. Because we originally took a loan for $150. So we'll subtract that out. And then what we're left with is our interest expense, which is not a pretty number. So that's how much we ended up paying the interest, $173,000. So then more than double actually paid for that house. Kind of stinks, right? That's how mortgages work. Is there? What's that? Yeah. It used to be you couldn't even loan money, right? You just had to build your own house or have the money at the outset. So we're going to do one more thing with this. So let's say Bill and Laura, they're looking ahead. Like, man, that's a lot of money to spend on a house, right? We're going to end up paying double for it. So we're going to do this instead. We're going to add 100 extra month each, $100 extra each month, which you can do to any loan. You can pay a loan off as early as you want to. Okay, if you want to pay it off sooner, you can. So we're going to just pay an extra $100 a month. So in our calculators, all we're going to do is just change that $8.99 to a $9.99. So we're going to pay 100 extra per month. And let's now look at our table. It should get paid off sooner, right? Because we're going to pay an extra 100 a month. So now see if you can figure out when we get it paid off. Because at 360, we're definitely way over. So when are we going to get this thing paid off now? Let's try 250. See where we're at. We got 26,000 left. Let's try 275. 275. We're getting close. Try 278. Looks like 279, I think, right? Yeah, the 279 payment puts us at negative. So now by paying that extra $100 a month, we now only have 279 payments. And let's see, 279. And in terms of years, see, that would be about what, like 22, 23 years instead, right? So it's going to save us several years. Yeah, it's going to save us like about about 7 years of paying. So we can pay it off 7 years earlier. Now we do have to pay $100 extra per month, but let's look at how much we end up paying in interest when we do this. Since our payment went up, we do have to put $9.99, but it's a lot less number of times. So now the total amount we're paying is $278,813.07. So we're going to subtract the original loan amount of $150,000. And so now our total interest expense is $128,815, which is still a lot, but look at the difference in the amount that we paid in interest. We saved like $45,000. So we are paying more each month, right? But we're going to save $45,000 in interest. We could do a lot with that $45,000, and we haven't paid off sooner too. 7 years sooner. A lot of talk about for that. So it definitely would be worthwhile, right? For the extra $100. For the rest of the period, you guys have to work on the 4 problems I gave you starting yesterday. You have this day to work on them, and then if you need more time, I can give you some more tomorrow. But just as a little review over 84, I said the first one you got to do P2. The second one, just do the 20th payment. It says you have to do like all the 20 years, but just do the 20th one. This one. Per C, did anybody do that yesterday? The limit one as it went to infinity. What you're going to do for this is just plug in bigger and bigger numbers, and you'll see it's going to reach what's called equilibrium. It's going to level out at some point. So just plug in big numbers, and you'll find that one out. 86, you have to, you're going to do education savings account. So you're going to write your formula there, figure out how much would be an education savings account. 88 is going to be a car loan one. It gives you the formula, so you don't have to write the formula. Just plug in the formula it gives you. And then 90 is a home loan one, a lot like we just did, about how much interest is paid, and then if you contribute extra, how much interest is paid there as well. So